Hello, welcome to Miss Casella's classroom on YouTube. This one's going out to everyone because I didn't make up this activity. During my social emotional cohort at UBC, we talked about stuff like this, different ways to tell stories. And this one is about emotional scars. So people will tell you and try to convince you that something physical that you can see, like a bruise or a scratch, a cut, wearing a band-aid, seeing a cast on somebody's leg, it means that their leg is broken. We immediately know that person is feeling pain. We might not know how much pain, but we know that person is hurting physically. And they might be hurting emotionally too, depending on how that pain was caused. Well, when it comes to our feelings, we might show our feelings through expressions on our face. So if I'm feeling happy, I smile, my eyes light up, my eyebrows are higher. If I'm feeling sad, my eyebrows, they droop a bit, my muscles here, they're drooping as well. If I'm feeling angry, my eyebrows are more inwards. And so we spend a lot of time in kindergarten talking about that, talking about how our muscles in our bodies react, and even our heart, one of our most important organs, is affected, and so is our head. The emotional scars, I truly believe, are more damaging than physical scars. We can't see them, and so often we don't acknowledge them. We somehow convince ourselves that, we're just taking it personally, and no, what that person said to you was rude. That was hurtful. How that person treated you, that was wrong. You didn't deserve to be treated that way. When we talk about our feelings, some people say, you know what, emotional literacy, that's boring, that's wishy-washy. Well, you know what, it's actually real life, and it needs to be taken seriously. In fact, there's not enough emotional literacy being read in the classrooms, and so I really love this social emotional movement with programs like Goldie Hawn's Mind Up and Mark Brackett's Ruler program, Diane Goslin's Restitution, and in that mix is Sir Ken Robinson's creativity. This is one way you can be creative. And again, I didn't make this up. This is just sharing knowledge, and today I share it with you. Just briefly, I wanted to say too that the emotional scars, like physical scars, they can heal, although they're never going to heal completely. There's going to be a scar, an internal scar, and again, we can't see it. And negative emotions, they do manifest. And that's why it's important to talk about things. I have some good books. I'll read them later. So this is a story you can tell students. I like to do this at the beginning of the year. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to tell a story, and I always make it a point to use my name, because I don't want anybody to feel like, oh, well, I'm using their name, so maybe it's really sending a message that I'm talking about them when I'm not. So as the teacher, you're always using your name. So this is what I would do. I would say, this is Gina's heart, and she's at school, and there she was waiting for her turn on the swing. And as soon as the person got off, another student jumped on the swing and said, ha ha, got here before you did, when clearly Gina was waiting for her turn on the swing. And Gina said, well, I've been waiting my turn. And the person said, I don't care. Why don't you go do something else? You're stupid. And you know what happened to Gina's heart? This. that first tear, you want to talk about getting your classroom's attention. Now I have to tell you, when you're tearing the heart, try and tear it in big pieces. You'll see why. So, that's what happened to her heart. So, life goes on, and Gina's in the classroom, and she's coloring a picture just like everybody else, and there's only one blue crayon, and she reaches for it, and she uses it, and by accident she breaks the blue crayon. That happens often, and she didn't mean to, and the boy sitting beside her said, "I can't believe you broke the crayon. Now we don't have a nice blue crayon like the other tables." And he went on and on and on about it. And Gina started crying. She said, "I'm sorry. I didn't mean to break the blue crayon. I take care of my things. It was an accident. It happened so fast. I'll be more careful." And he's like, "Yeah, you better be more careful." And he's very rude about it. And you know what? This happened to her heart. Just like that. People can't see what's happening to her heart because it's inside, and they can't see how, because the head and the heart, they work together. They can't see this damage, but that's what's going on. Later on, Gina was outside waiting for the bus, and it started raining, and then just like that, it started pouring. And one of the kids at school had a teenager sister, and the teenager sister came to the school and picked her up in her car. She's 16, she can drive. And they saw Gina standing by the puddle, and on purpose stepped on the gas and drove really fast, splashing Gina totally on purpose. And you know what happened to Gina's heart? You guessed it. This. At the beginning of the day, I forgot to mention that Gina was happy to be at school. She loves going to school. How do you think she was feeling by the end of the day? Whenever I tell stories like this, I change it up and I try and use examples that are realistic in the classroom. So, for example, waiting for your turn on the swing, that's typical. Students accidentally breaking a crayon, some of them do it on purpose, but often it is just an accident. Sometimes they're just thin, they're cheap, it happens. It is just a piece of wax. And the physical representation of the heart tearing and ripping, representing the scars, is powerful to students. So anyways, once I'm finished telling the story, I say to the students, how can we put this heart back together? And that's why I made it a point to rip the heart in big pieces. And I made it a point to rip it in pieces that I can, put back together. So I'll, put this up on the chart paper and I'll say, how can we put her heart back together? What can we do for Gina? And the students will offer questions like, if I was outside and I saw Gina waiting for her turn and, the person said that to her, that maybe I might say something like, hey, you know what, Gina? Why don't you come and play with us over here? Yeah, I bet that would make Gina feel really good. And then I get that person to come up and they tape it. And then they give me another example. How else can we help Gina? What can we do? There she is in the classroom coloring her picture and the crayon breaks and, she really didn't mean to do it. And that boy was really rude to her. When somebody in the class might suggest, oh, you know what, I might say something like, hey, you know what, don't be too hard on Gina, it was an accident. Yeah, you could say that, stand up for her. Maybe somebody else might suggest something like, oh, hey, Gina, why don't you take this blue crayon from our group? You can use our blue crayon. Or somebody might say, hey, you know what, Gina, there was only one crayon, and now that you broke it on accident, it's like mixed blessings because now we have two blue crayons, turning a negative into a positive. So again, I'd have a student come up and put some tape on here and so on and so forth. And what ends up happening is the heart gets put back together. And of course, like any scar, it's never going to be perfect again. Physical scars we can see. Emotional scars we can't see, but they are there. This lesson usually takes a good 15 minutes to do. There's a lot of conversation around it. And whenever I tear the heart, I tear it a bit slowly, just so it's kind of sinking in, internalizing. And sometimes I might rip it fast because the person who was rude to Gina in this story, maybe that their reaction was fast. And we talk about that. And then what I do is I like to hang this right by my desk. And it's a symbol in the classroom all year round. I hope that inspired you to do this activity with your class. It doesn't matter the age. With older students, you could have them do a writing piece where they think of the examples. You might even want to extend it. Maybe you have big buddies and little buddies, and the buddies can partner up and they can, visit the little buddies and tell them their version of the story. And thank you for sharing this idea for me. If you have ideas to share, especially social, emotional ideas, I'm definitely interested. Thank you for watching Ms. Casella's Classroom on YouTube.